Welcome to Operator Syndrome. We're here with Jose. We're talking about his career in the Ranger Regiment. And specifically, we are at this point in your timeline, we're talking about your deployments in the sniper section. And I was surprised when we were talking before. I was trying to think of how many times you had deployed after I left
Yes.
and in the sniper section and some other roles, which we'll talk about. But it was a lot. You did a lot after I left. I was
Yeah.
surprised. I was surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. The war wasn't over yet after you left. It turns out
Contrary to popular belief.
there was still more baggage, I think.
So good for you. Good for you. Thank you for your service.
And thank
Um,
you.
so I think we talked about two deployments. And maybe an interesting way to split it up is because I know it probably all starts to run together, but maybe like the way to think about it is the different, and forgive me, I don't know what you call them. Is it sniper buddy, sniper partner? What do you call it? The other
Uh,
guy in your little element?
the sniper BFF, I think. No, I'm joking. It's no, just it's like a sniper team, but
The
I
sniper
don't
team.
know.
Okay.
Yeah, sniper
There's no
team.
term for it?
You know what? I used to, there's a guy named Rodriguez from Rodriguez.
Yeah.
He used to call the snot team,
It's
which I
not.
didn't like, but a snot. I said, hey, snot. And I was like, yeah, okay. Because I think it just meant sniper team.
Sniper.
That's one term I guess they would use.
Yeah, what does
Uh,
that like wouldn't the T stand for team? So would it, like
maybe
when
I'm
people
saying
say
team.
cack
I think that's why I didn't like it. 'Cause I think it was just snot. Hey,
snot.
snot. No,
Yeah,
no.
just not like cack card,
Yeah.
common
Yeah.
access card. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at least for us, that I remember, there was no special terms other than sniper team or
So we'll call them your other half for now.
my other
So
half.
so you
My
start who was your first
I actually my
or
first when I went to my first deployment as in the sniper section was with I don't know if you remember the kid. He was a very skinny, redheaded kid.
sure,
That
sure, sure,
came in
sure.
late. All
Okay.
right.
So you start out with him and
Yes.
then you did two deployments with paired up with him?
No, I did one deployment with him.
Okay.
Second deployment was with another gentleman from he was a kid from third platoon.
Okay.
Um, and then another one was with a acquaintance of ours. He was a RTO before that, if
Okay.
you remember him. And I think I did. You know what? That was it. So it was
Those three.
those three. Yeah, that
So
was
you
fun.
did
That
most of them with the guy who is a comms guy, RTO.
yes,
Okay. Um, and you were the senior guy, senior shooter.
not the first one. Not the one when I first got there. No, the senior guy was.
Oh no, I meant the later deployments when you were paired
Oh
up with
yes,
the RT with the
yes,
guy
yes.
who's formerly an RTO. Okay. So let's talk about, those deployments. Are you towards the end of those? And I think we tried to total it up. You had four or five deployments
Mhm.
as in the sniper section. I think we talked about two. So for those last 3 to 5, we'll say, where you were probably paired up with this guy, we'll call him B for now.
Mhm.
So when you're partnered up with him, was that all at that point? Was it only Afghanistan, or had you gone in those last three? Had you gone back to Iraq?
Ooh, I think it was all Afghanistan.
Hmm.
Those last for the last deployment. But actually, with that other dude, and I'm thinking, now that I think about it, I think it was just maybe two deployments with him, maybe one or two.
Mm,
With so
okay,
it wasn't that many as in the sniper section. I think one with each of the first two, and then two, I think, with the last one.
okay,
And so I mean, there's still a lot, but I think after that it was uh different jobs that I had in there. But
sure. And we'll talk.
but
And
it was Afghanistan though, the last two for sure.
anything about those? I mean, anything stick out in your mind about those last couple sniper deployments?
Um, I will tell you that different companies uh operate differently.
Mm,
when utilizing their SNOT team,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's something that I learned because I when I got to the sniper section, I didn't really know much about the sniper section. I wasn't the best shot. I learned a lot. I'll tell you that much. A lot of very smart guys in there, very good shots in there, and you will learn a lot because you will shoot a lot. Um, and it's not just the shooting; it's what you do is at least how they utilize us, right? So we are basically, I want to say, like forward observers, if you will.
Okay.
Our main job was to get off that bird. You were basically on the front of that formation with the platoon sergeant. If you had EOD, you'd be with those guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you got to your um, that LCC, if you will, I don't know if they still call it, I'm sure they call it that still. Uh, right before you set off to where your target is, the those teams, those special teams like EOD, and especially in parts of Afghanistan, EOD had to leave,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and then the SNOT team would have to leave with them and kind of break off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you break off, you set up shop on a as high as a position as you could, so you
Mm-hmm.
can overwatch. Once you got there, you send your call to a snipers team set, and they would move forward, and you overwatch them, and then just kind of report anything you see, and adjust accordingly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then on the next field is the same thing. Overwatch their movement and then link up with them as they pass by. So that's kind of basically how it went. So, but there's companies, and I got to work with I think two different companies, three actually. How they use this. Some people wanted us there with them, like, no, you're coming in with us, and you're gonna set up close to me. Other people are like, no, we don't want to even see you. Just make sure that you can see us, type team. So, and you had to adjust for that, and you would do that. You would do that way before you even got to the target, because you get imagery, which I think everybody knows that
Mm-hmm.
about where you're gonna go,
Mm-hmm.
and then and you and the other team member would go, hey, listen, this is where we're gonna set up shop, and from this point right here, I know that my distance to that, main avenue of approach is this much meters. Uh, I know everything. I know where everything is from that piece of paper. So when I get there, every time I look at something, an entrance, I'm like, I know exactly how many mill dots on my reticle. If I'm ready to go. You feel ready to send that shot if you have to. But other companies, like I said, they're like, no, I just need you right here. If something happens, you're basically another, uh, you know, like another gun team, and which
Mm-hmm.
didn't really make good use of the team, but they are the platoon sergeant at the time, and they outrank you. Although, if you are there's some teams that are like, I don't care what you say, man. This is not what my job is. I'm gonna go do that over there.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do that, but I was not. I just did what I was told, basically.
That was not your style.
No,
So when you would, so you describe the sniper element having to do some wayfinding. Some might call it like, you know, being a point man, sort of navigating out to the objective alongside EOD. That makes sense. That makes sense for how we used to do it when I was in, although not necessarily. Back because when I was in, we weren't that concerned with the IED threat, so it would often be one of the platoon's team leaders that would lead out.
yeah,
Um, and so that is a little bit different. And I've heard you describe it, and I've heard other units, different units, talking SEALs, Marines, other kind of thing. Like that's actually a pretty common use of the sniper element to use them for navigating, have them lead out, and when you go to exfil, have them lead out to go, establish, the 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 pickup. So okay, you're doing that. You had mentioned I think this might be an interesting quick segue, but you'd mentioned how different the companies were. Um,
yeah.
and how they use the snipers, but maybe also generally. I'm interested in your take. You grew up in BCO.
Yeah.
Um, I was only ever in BCO. I never worked with anyone else, the other companies. Even, just looking at them from like a distance, you would be like, man, it does seem weird over there. And I don't know why that is, but we're all wearing basically the same uniforms, but the way they handle, like, you'd be like, there are very big differences in how we work. And
What are they
obviously,
doing over there?
like, who are those weirdos? Like, the one thing I remember in terms of differences, because again, I never saw them, uh, you know, hit a target, do anything. Um, I've heard good things. They get the job. They're Rangers, so they get the job done, and that's the important part. But they're always small things. Like, I remember, who was the company that was in the same like building, whatever you call it, but across from us? Was that C? That was
Yeah.
C. So
And
I
Charlie Cook is a different thing either too.
so one little thing I always remember is like the guys in that other company, whatever it was, like they always had a million different pouches on the back of their plate carrier. I was like, these guys think they're freaking like green, like they think they're high speed, and everyone in B code just used the map. It was either slick back or we use the map because it's a big bag and we just dump stuff in there. And that was just one of those small, and they would like the other company would never use them. And the map, it for someone who doesn't know, it's like a little backpack that you attach to your plate carrier, like your body armor. And that's such a small thing. But if you've ever been in special operation or even the military in general, like how you set up your kit
Yeah.
is something that's very intimate and very important to you. And so I would just always notice like why instead of one big bag do they use 20 different little pouches? Like they look like they're trying to be Delta Force over here, you know? So like any things like that you picked up on, and it could be bigger things. That's very minor, but anything like that you picked up on?
Oh no, so I see. I one of the last deployments, I was with Charlie Company.
Okay.
Actually, the last two, I believe. Um, yes, I was with Charlie Company. No, I'm sorry, not the last two, but before that, somewhere in the middle. But anyways, I was with Charlie Company. First time meeting this guy, the platoon sergeant, and the platoon sergeant was a badass dude, bro. That guy had, and I'm sure people have heard of him. I don't know if I can say his name enough, but he was
Sure.
missing the leg from a prior engagement, and he was still out there being a platoon sergeant. Just
Mm-hmm.
like I that's just like one of the toughest people I've seen in my life, you know. And so I go to meet this guy. He goes, so I go, hey, sergeant, it was cold outside. I thought it was cold outside, but just this is to give you an idea of how this deployment is going to go with Charlie Company. So I go to meet him, and I go, hey, so we're going to be your new your sniper team for the deployment. Want to introduce ourselves. So whenever you guys go to training, because not there's another thing. Whenever you work with a company, you will work with them from the beginning of their training cycle to the deployment, throughout the deployment, right? Because you need to learn, their SOPs and stuff like that, and and how they want to utilize. You know what I mean? So I go to say hi. I introduce the other guy, and he looks at us like, "What happened to the other team?" I'm like, "I'm not sure. I'm not sure." Sonny goes, "I'm just all right." And then but he looked us up and down, like, I guess like you should, to make sure that we're worthy of being in your company for the moment being. And
Sure.
as I'm walking on their first sergeant, who there's companies that do not like the fact that there is a separate company for special teams like snipers or
Sure.
K9 or um what's the other one? Just
Recky.
just Reiki, exactly. They don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They think that they should all be bundled as one. I mean, which for the most part, for a while it was like that because if you remember, we had marksmen in the companies.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody would get like it was M110. You go, you're
Yeah.
gonna be the marksman, and you're gonna walk around with this M110,
Yeah.
and you could, and that'd be your job. Anyways, well, he wasn't too happy with it, and he's looking at me. He goes, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're the new we're the new sniper team, first round." He goes, "Take that jacket off." I'm like, "Oh, Roger." Doesn't know why you wearing the jacket. I'm like, "It's cold. It's cold outside first round." He goes, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Take it off." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it off." And I said, "Okay, take." I took the other guy, take the jacket off, man. So we took the jackets off, and then he looked at us again, like, "Who are these? Who are these guys?" You know what I mean? And so we left, and I was like, man, this is gonna be a rough deployment. And it was like working with those guys. I'll give you this: Charlie Company is very uh physically strong. I'll tell you that much. They're good, man. They're a great company.
For sure.
At least at the time when I was there, they had really good team leaders, squad leaders. But you're right, it is a very different ball game from Bico. You know what I mean? Um, I'll give you a mission in particular. They got off the bird. These dudes were already shooting at the bird, and these guys got off the bird shooting. You know what I mean? They didn't give me and the other guy a chance to even, okay, let's see who's out there. Nope. Just run and da 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 da. You know what I mean? And they took care of the situation even before we got a chance to set up. You know what I mean? It's a very they're very high, I don't want to say high speed, but well, yeah, I guess high speed. They're moving, man. And whereas I know with with Bravo Company, at least from my experience, is hey, okay, something's going on. Let's take a knee. This tactically and move forward with it. Not these dudes, man. They went straight at it, and so that's how they expected us to uh to work. But I was not like that. You know what I mean? I come from a company like again where we try to do it as tactical as possible. And but for the most part, we did our job as a sniper team,
Hmm.
and throughout the missions, everything went well. But there was rough moments where they didn't like the way we operated as a sniper team,
So
and
you
they made it. They
so
made
you
it.
felt like your experience in Bico was maybe more deliberate, like it was more. Is that maybe how you describe it? So it was more like thinking through the steps and
Yes,
then executing it, and you felt like Seco at the time was maybe a little bit more run and gun, maybe like.
at least for me,
Right,
yes,
right.
and
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 we're speaking about, obviously, we're speaking about a very specific point in time, very specific
yes,
people. That's
yes,
probably even one platoon you were just working with, another platoon you were
yes,
working
exactly,
with. Same
exactly.
for Bico. Um, so love to everybody. Spread love. ELE, everybody love everybody, of course. That's the
Easily,
first that's the first rule. So but there were differences in how people work. And so for me, who never worked with another company really, um, other than to goof around with the other team leaders or squad leaders at different like things, whichever one was the same. But to see him work, I never really saw anybody. So, but I could pick up on like minor differences and how they thought. And I think that's interesting because it's also like part of the culture of a company.
mhm,
Um, and so that's why I thought it kind of made sense, at least initially, where the specialty platoons would carve out, take the brand new tab, the brand new tab, some of the brand new tabs, and then put them right back into the same company. I feel like that kind of makes sense because there are some differences in how folks operate, and so, and then plus also it could also help from the perspective of you've already got a lot of existing relationships. You know all the team leaders. Like
yeah,
the team leaders are actually probably all your peer group. So they're all your buddies. And it's
yeah,
and if I'm a team leader, I would like my sniper team, I would like my canine guy, I would like, all those folks to be my buddies. I would
yeah.
prefer that if I
No,
if I
I was not that.
you were no one's friend. Okay. So
They left us alone. They're
you're
like,
you're a friend to no man.
to know
So even in Bico, you were outcast from Bico as
I
well. Why are we
was.
even talking to you? Why am I even asking your opinion then? So
What do you think
anyway,
I want from me? Be my friend.
so okay, so I mean, so those last few deployments would you say those were everyone likes to use the word kinetic? Was there a lot of combat action in those last couple deployments? I mean, what time period is this, by the way?
Ooh, let's see. I went to the sniper station. I went 2009, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd say my last combat deployment, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
was 2013, 14, something like that. And
Okay.
that was a good deployment. We got to work with some Delta guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, it was a good deployment. It was it was good to see how. Oh, that's another thing. So I had been working with other companies. I got back with Pico company,
Mm-hmm.
with my own company that I used to be in, and with the same guys that I was, either a team leader or some kind of private together. And now seeing these guys themselves be team leaders or squad leaders. Some of these guys were squad leaders,
Mm-hmm.
and and outrank me. Not that I care, but it was to show you the process of how slow ranking process goes in it when you're in like special teams or the
Mm-hmm.
headquarters. But eventually I get to that point. But it was weird to see them being in charge. You know what I mean? It's like seeing but it was good to see them, and you'd see how they operate, and definitely different from when we started.
Mm-hmm.
The tacticalness is still there and everything, but it was good to see how they worked. Um, Nothing special towards those end deployments, mission wise. I think with Biko we always get lucky to where we go in there and we know who the bad guy is and we know where he is, and it's always like a smooth. If you remember that, some deployments were just like that's him. They grab him, we walk away, and that's it. Sometimes stuff hits the fan and you have to do what you got to do. But for the most part, nothing big with Biko. Just what I did do. I used some of that stuff that I did with Seco. You know what I mean? And kind
Mm-hmm.
of they I want to say Brother Company gave me the opportunity to kind of move along as I wanted to, as I wished, if you will. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? I remember this one deployment. We were in the backside of this gigant of this I want to say village, if you will, a little bit of a high ground. It's snowing out there, and it's me and the other sniper buddy. If you I said, and I see these two guys coming out the back door, and I'm like, so I call on the radio, but these guys on the other side, and I had an opportunity to say, listen, man, keep watching. I'm gonna go around, kind of flank these dudes, and just kind of you know tell them to stop. And there's more to it, but basically I got them to stop, call on the radio. They come in and they take them. You know what I mean? And I go back to my position, and that's it. But those were the what do you call them? The JP, not JPs, the TIs. That right? Yep. Target individuals that they were looking for.
Oh, okay. They're
Okay, so
the reason
something.
you were there.
The
They
reason
were
we
ready
were
to.
there, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
and which made me happy in the way that, hey man, the fact that we were standing there overwatching the whole thing, you know what I mean? That's exactly what the sniper section or the sniper job for the way we use them is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be used. That's what we're supposed to do. And I thought it was pretty cool on that last deployment actually. And but aside from that, I mean, just regular sniper stuff, man. Nothing special, nothing big.
So the so some of so in that scenario, what specifically in that situation was something that you carried over from working with Seco?
The
Sort
freedom
of
of movement.
just sort of taking the initiative, that part.
Yeah. So Seco had this thing where they're like, I want you here.
Mm-hmm.
I want you here. Or come over here and do this. And I was like, okay, well, in my head, from the way I was trained was, well, we're supposed to set up here
Mm-hmm.
and overwatch.
Yep.
But as long as you're overwatching in one half, like I got my guy here. And another thing, I was a team leader at the time, or squad leader, whatever it was for the sniper section.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to maneuver us, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say, hey man, set up here. I'm gonna go over here. You know what I mean? Because Seco says to. But
Mm-hmm.
then after I was away from Seco, I was like, well, I'll just keep doing that then. I'll keep maneuvering us around to whatever makes sense. One thing I learned was this also from Seco is that you don't both have to carry, at least for the way we operate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't both have to carry, sniper rifle. You
Mm.
know what I mean? We would at times we would both carry Airshot 25s, which is a good sniper rifle with good scope and everything, and the or a 200 Windman, which is a even better sniper scope, more accuracy, I think. But they're heavy. So
Mm,
instead of that, I would make the other guy carry a, either 200 Win Mag if we needed to, or a SR 25 or M110, a bigger sniper rifle, and I would carry just a regular M4 with a
mm,
scope. I mean,
mm-hmm,
why? Because sometimes, like for example, Iraq, it's more urban,
right.
um, it's more closed in.
Mm-hmm,
So if we do need to take a long distance shot, I got an SR 25. But if I'm just overwatching, go through a building, I mean, I can. You're not gonna you can hit a target with 300 meters with an M4. I know I can. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
I know anybody or a quick ready up. You know what I mean? But it's more compact and you're able to move better. And if you have to jump in there, you're able to do so. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
With an M4, and that's something that I saw other sniper guys do, and so kind of copied that. But it helped us a lot. It worked out a lot.
When I
That's
was
because of the other companies. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
when I was around, the snipers would just do their long gun and then they'd have their pistol. Um,
Yep.
some of the other units that we worked with or we were around, their snipers might have like a sub gun, you know? They might like
Mhm.
have some tricked out little thing to use for those close in shots. I mean, just speaking generally, is that something the sniper section had looked into or transitioned to, or was that still long gun pistol? That was kind of like the setup for a
We
Ranger
had
sniper.
long gun pistol, and that's because, like for example, even Afghanistan, but mostly Iraq, urban environment,
Mm-hmm.
you have to climb a lot of buildings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't, and if you remember, and a lot of people in Iraq and still Afghanistan during the summer, they sleep outside.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
no air conditioning, and so you got to get cool air wherever you can. So you have a lot of people sleep outside, but then sometimes, when you go to somebody's house and you just jump in there, they'll freak out or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you would do is in the sniper section, I would carry my pistol in my chest, right? So
Mm,
if anything, if I was climbing a wall or something, the first thing that comes out is like as I pop my head over that wall is my face and my gun. It's not just my gun out there and somebody grabs it. It's kind of like a simul thing, like whoa, and you clear that area and you move on. And then
mm-hmm.
once it's clear, put it away and cover the other guy or set up shop, whatever you gotta do. But
Mm-hmm.
that's one way we use our pistol. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, 300 Win Mag is bolt action. So if you're having to every freaking time, it's probably best to have a pistol in case you do have to engage quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, that's what we utilize. But I did see some guys, like I said, use an M4 as their rifle for that mission or particular missions, and have the other guy carry a rifle like a sniper rifle, and
So
that works.
and so in your time, the sniper section hadn't experimented with anything in between the long gun and a pistol. Like some units might have like
But,
an MP7, right? Like like a
oh
machine pistol, something like that. That's not something that in your
no,
time at least
I
that
I don't recall anybody doing that. Towards the end, I did see some guys that would just rock M4s
hmm
instead of sniper rifles.
hmm
But the other guy, there was always a sniper rifle in there. It's just
hmm
one or the other, you know.
good. That way they could be because then you're not snot, right?
Exactly.
You don't have the snuh, then how are you gonna
You just
do
opt.
so um okay. Around that time too, was Syria kicking off around that? Actually, there are 2 things I wanted to ask about. One of them is actually towards the beginning of your time in sniper section, and I'm interested in your take. I don't know that you and I have really talked much about this incident, and we're closing up here, so we'll see. About 10 minutes. Um, First platoon after I left,
Uh-huh.
and presumably after you were in the sniper section, they got in a really bad situation. I think it was
Yeah.
like 2011, 2012, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And and you and I knew plenty of guys who were still from our
Yeah.
time of platoon who were still in.
Yeah.
I think the short version, I'll give the short version is they went to go do a raid Afghanistan, correct?
Uh-huh.
So Afghanistan, they went to go do a raid. I believe it was a call out. So the call out situation is the platoon isolated the target building, the
Yeah.
specific area, and just like it says, they get the interpreter on a bullhorn and say, "Hey, you're surrounded. Come out," more or less. Um, and as they were going through that process, this house, the individual, many of the individuals in it, some of the individuals in it, but the land around the target was heavily mined
Yes, sir.
or heavily saturated with IEDs. So they'd basically walked into basically like a trap, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and they took, I believe it was 4 or 5 killed in action.
Hmm.
Um, that included guys in the platoon, um, uh, 1 or 2 enablers,
Yes.
female enablers.
Yes.
Um, I think I think 1 or 2. I think one was like sort of medically focused. Another one was what was that unit called? They were part of
It's it's
the
not SR.
female.
It's oh my goodness. I want to
Yeah,
say SRT, not SRT. It's something like that. It's a
other iterations of this type of thing were like
yes,
female engagement teams, something like that. But
yes.
these were women who were specifically trained to work special operations missions and support
They're all
that.
officers. Yes,
Yeah, and they were officers.
yes.
And I think there might even be a movie about there've been a couple books about this situation and those women, but I think there's
Really,
even a movie coming out. Yeah, I think Reese Witherspoon bought the rights to a movie. She's gonna put it out there eventually. So anyways, so our platoon,
legally,
we both leave, and then something really bad goes down. Um, you were in the sniper section, but you were not attached to first platoon for that mission. I take it.
no. For that particular thing, I was the that was my first deployment that was my first non-combat deployment.
Oh,
So that happened later on, and
so that
that
was
happened.
later on. Okay, that wasn't
Yeah,
2011 then. Okay,
you
so that was
know,
later on.
that was later on. That happened. What was I? I was Yes, I had taken because at the time, like my kids stayed with they were going back and forth between my Houston and Georgia.
Hmm.
I was like, man, I have an opportunity after this deployment to stay with them, and I had a platoon sergeant. I said, listen, first sergeant. I said, is there any way that and the platoon sergeant. I said, is there any way that maybe for this deployment I could possibly, stay back or something because my kids and stuff like that. I
Hmm.
think I asked that, and he was really happy. I mean, very, very helpful. He said, "Yeah, man, kids," and so they needed an armor, and I said, "I can do that." You know what I mean? So I became the armor, and they let me stay. But I ended up having to deploy anyways. But the training cycle was way different, way better, and I was able to spend more time with my kids at the time. But I ended up still deploying but as an armorer. And then after that, it was the headquarters platoon sergeant. I got the headquarters platoon sergeant job, and then I kind of transitioned out.
Okay, so would you have if you hadn't been pulled off the line, so to speak?
Yes,
If you hadn't pulled back, do you would you have deployed with first platoon in that
um,
deployment?
I think so. Probably, yeah. 'Cause that's what I deployed with last.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. I'm not going to let you get out of talking about that, but I want to make sure we're going to talk about that in the next episode a little bit more.
Yes, sir.
Um, but but so we're going to start with that in the next episode. But also Syria was kicking off towards the tail end of that. I think around that time frame, 13, 14,
Yes.
whatever. And then were you were we I know we sent guys over there for that. Um, the regiment did. The regiment did. But had third battalion caught any of those Syria deployments yet at the tail end of your time?
Not that I can think of or remember for that part. To be honest with you,
Okay.
I know they were doing training for it
Hmm.
of some sort, but I can't say with certainty that they did send guys over there. I know that RRC was sending, not as RRC.
Hmm.
I know those guys were,
From the regiment, from
yes,
the
from it.
regiment.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know those guys were doing part.
Yeah, it was a little bit in wave, as it usually is, right? It's like
Yes,
tier one guys, and then hey, let's get more bodies in here, and then all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's end it here. We're gonna pick back up with that mass casualty event. We'll talk about, and that's probably like a good my guess is it's probably like a good segue into, okay, now you're out of a combat focused career,
Hmm.
and what that looks like, what that feels like, how that starts to mess with you, and all that. But so in these last couple minutes, so ultimately you left the sniper section because you had family stuff. It'd been too long. You needed to tend to some family stuff and get some things.
Yeah, yeah. Part of I was spent time with my kids as much as I could,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think I was mentally dwelling down on you know what we were doing. So and work. I want to spend time with my family, and thankfully they were very nice and willing to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then got the armor job, and then a little transition to the headquarters platoon sergeant job, and then that landed me as a jock NCO. That's what it's called over there overseas, and that was
Mm-hmm.
my last deployment there with them.
And when you left the sniper section, how many straight deployments had you done before you switched to a non-combat position?
And
Guess.
I
Guesstimate.
at least eight, nine.
Okay. All right. There you
Pretty sure.
go. 9
In the
deployments.
beginning.
Okay, that's good for this
All
one.
right.
We're gonna pick it back up. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.